Live from Lexicon Studios, it's Business Connections Community on AustCham TV. With special guests, Ian Pascoe, Billy Brigham, David Norcross, Justin St-Denis, Maxime Schmitt, Kay Holt, and Juthamas Kwan Carranco. And now please welcome your host, Brendan Cunningham.
A special welcome first to AustCham's President, Kun Lak, in the front row. And of course to our fellow BCCT directors, conveniently placed over there near the bar. Well done, fellas. I'm your host, Brendan Cunningham, Executive Director at AustCham. And as with every month, we're here to bring you updates from the Australian Thai business community. Coming up in this episode, in the business section, we hear straight from the storytelling horse's mouth. As the brains trust at Lexicon Business Communications, David, Max and Justin share their stories with us. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm fascinated by the Lexicon business model and how no one has really monetized this before. I mean, we're all storytellers, right? We're all storytellers for most of our lives. I mean, as a kid, if you break something, you lose something, you get in trouble, you get dirty, your mum catches you. You're a storyteller, right? You go into storyteller mode. And then you go to school, or for us now work, you're late, you forget something, you screw up badly. Your boss looks at what you're doing, you go into storytelling mode. Now, as adults at home, sometimes, only occasionally, I might get home a little later than promised, perhaps having drunk a little more than I should have. My wife will go out shopping and maybe spend a little bit more money on the credit card than she'd planned. Suddenly, we're both master storytellers. Oh, you're too kind. So it is going to be interesting to see how these guys are taking that art of storytelling and helping it to drive your businesses. In Connections, we welcome CEO and Managing Partner and part-time weatherman Ian Pascoe from Grant Thornton. Ian has become well known through social media for forecasting what's happening next in the economy. And we catch up to hear his thoughts on where we are now in Thailand and the rest of the world. Also in Connections, we sit down with Billy Brigham, wine ambassador at Pernod Ricard. We catch Billy just before he leaves our shores. Now seriously, how good a job does Billy have? Where's Billy up the back? How good a job does he have? Think about when you meet people at sundowners or at networking. They give you a business card. I met some cybersecurity people this morning. They went into the very technical side of cybersecurity. Very serious look on my face, really trying to, I understand everything you're saying. Obviously I didn't. I got about half of it. And then you meet Billy. Billy, wine. Wow, Billy sells wine. How you doing, mate? Good. Very nice to meet you, Billy. What are you doing on the weekend? You want to catch up? Do you want to hang out? Maybe bring some supplies over to my place? I mean, who doesn't want to have a wine guy as one of your best mates? But on a serious note, I'll also be talking to Billy about the excise tax on wines and the serious implication that is having not only on your pockets as consumers, but more importantly on the tourism industry. Finally, in community, AustCham's Women in Leadership Committee has morphed into inclusion and diversity. We have Kun Kwan, Juthamas Kwan from our board, who will be telling us about the background in the change and the future direction. As well as previewing our upcoming event next Wednesday on the 29th. She'll be joined by Kay Holt, coach of the women's team at the Thailand Tigers Australian Football Club. As a British lady, breaking into the ranks of an Australian male-dominated sport, Kay really does push the boundaries of inclusion and diversity. I mean, I can't even say it. How the hell do we have a POM coaching an Australian sports team? How did that happen? So I see a couple of the Brits there now, Martin over there, go, yes, we got one back on you. But when you meet her, you'll see why she's loved at the club and how passion, in her case footy, and you can see life in general, is how you really do break boundaries. We also have our very first top 10 list talking about you, the AustCham members, and resident comedian Justin St-Denis will give his very unusually clean take on life. So stay tuned. We'll be back after this commercials with Connections. And welcome back. In today's connection section, we welcome CEO and Managing Partner from Grant Thornton, a very long-term resident here in Thailand, Mr. Ian Pascoe. Ian, good to see you.
Brendan. Blade, Bruce, I'm not sure what we call you nowadays.
Yeah, I'll go by your names. Please take a seat. Do we have a microphone for Ian as well? Behind you.
Oh, thank you.
So, Ian, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Or Paz.
Wonderful to be here.
Now, Ian's calling me various other nicknames because I'm also a Thailand Tiger. And over the past 20 years, I've accumulated various personas before I was Brendan AustCham in front of you now. So that's possibly a topic for
Perhaps
another.
We can talk about the Tigers and leave it to Kate.
Maybe leave it to Kate, although your topic is a little too serious for everyone else. That's why you're trying to escape it, right?
Do I have a topic?
Let's start with Grant Thornton. So I think most people here do know Grant Thornton, but for the very rare person who might not know, a quick snapshot of who you are.
The people that don't know Grant Thornton. Okay, so Grant Thornton, we've been in Thailand for 31 years. We're part of the global Grant Thornton network of 50, 60,000 people in 138 countries. One of our more interesting sides is we came here to do a lot of restructuring back in the Tom Yum Goong period, back in 97, 98, which is why I've been here so long. I'm still trying to get the restructuring right. We also do auditing, tax, business consulting, all sorts of things. So anything that a business may need, we're here to help.
Very good. And I think you have a lot of your clients here as well.
Well, I hope so. And if they're not, you should be.
You're welcome. That was the alley-oop for you. Now, you've become very well known as a weatherman. For anyone who may have seen Ian's face before, on social media, he's become very famous as a weatherman predicting the economy, not the weather. First question, what's harder, to predict the weather or the economy?
I think the weather would be much, much harder. No, actually, the weather would be easier, definitely. Right. Yes. Economy, very challenging.
Particularly at the moment.
I think it's probably the easiest prediction is to say it's rocky. Thunderclouds are forming everywhere.
Are always on the way.
Not always, but they are now.
So I've picked out 4 key topics that relate specifically to, I think, the AustCham community. I'm going to throw them at Ian as a forecaster, and we're going to give him 45 seconds for Ian to give us a quick prediction on what he thinks is going to happen. Are you ready, Ian? I've even got my watch there.
The only
ready.
thing is, Brendan, often it's good to, part of the weather forecast is talking about what the weather is now.
Let's start with that.
Do a bit of both.
Okay. Start with what the weather is now?
Well, we'll do both.
Okay, good. So, within each section, good one. I'm only picking up on that now. So the first topic is Thai economy recovery? We're coming out of COVID. We're all living here and doing business. Most of us living here doing business in Thailand. How is the economy here going to recover? 45 seconds starting now.
Thailand economy, we're coming out of a period of 1.5% growth, forecast to go to 3%, which is probably going to be somewhat challenging given the supply chain problems we've got. We are dropping the Thailand path, so that should lead to a greater influx of tourism, which is going to help. We do have some, although the supply chain issues are still ongoing, we have this rocky issue around wealth disparity, which is going to lead potentially still to social problems. But the biggest problem forecast for Thailand going forward, I believe, is the ageing population, where we are just literally running out of workers.
It's like you practice. 45 seconds exactly. What an expert. The next one, let's take it back to Australia. So we recently had a new government elected in Australia, and after 8 years, the change from Liberal to Labor. How do we see the Australian economy developing after we have a new government in place? Go.
New Labor government leading to major thunderclouds, I believe. The levels of debt, which are currently were becoming astronomical before COVID, have now post-COVID gone to 1.2 trillion. With a Labor government in power, I wouldn't be surprised if that gets to sort of 2 trillion going forward. We have massive issues around inflation. We have massive issues around no planning for energy. It is becoming very apparent that the states and the federal government cannot agree, and we just have too many levels of government. Massive debt issues both in the property sector with the households. Growth is currently running at 5%, but we have the lowest unemployment probably on record, certainly in the last 50 years. But I do see the construction industry and a number of other industries getting into problems, which is going to lead to increased unemployment, massive inflation problems, and following on from the increase in interest rate, major stress in the household debt.
Wow. Aren't you glad you're in Thailand? Much better here?
Weather's certainly a bit more consistent, is all I can say.
Thank you. Staying on Australia and certainly staying on the topic of rocky roads, Australia's relationship with China.
Relationship with China.
Is relationship the right word? Does it exist? I guess is the question.
You going now?
Go.
Okay. Relationship with China. Well, we had a major disparity again between some of the states and the federal government with relations to China. We had Dan Andrews in Victoria, who was in love with China, signed the Belt and Road Agreement, which then was cancelled by the federal government. But Dan now has his mate in the federal government, which is also somewhat sympathetic to China. The relations are very bad, but China's already bought just about everything in Australia that they want. Currently only about 13% of the land, owning a number of little energy suppliers. And the gas, well, they've got a big contribution of the gas. The challenge around China is going to be that the lack of investment into Australia, the Chinese, both from they already own everything anyway, and Australia's on the nose, so that's going to have some pretty bad effects on Australian economy, I believe. At least, though, the 9-dash line doesn't include Australia, so China's not actually claiming that we're there, but I think we're in for some trouble with the Pacific Islands.
Okay. So stop poking the giant beast and...
No, keep poking.
Okay. And finally, continuing the storm clouds, this obviously affects the continued impact of the war in Ukraine. And go.
Okay, Ukraine, I think the war, which we thought would perhaps only go for 2 to 3 months, is probably going to go for 2 to 3 years. I think everyone's getting very entrenched. It's leading to major problems again in the supply chain, both just in everything in the world anyway, but particularly in grain exports, where you're seeing a lot of areas in the Middle East where people are literally starving, in places like Lebanon where they cannot get grain. I think it's going to lead to particularly more tensions from China. We were talking before. I think China's been watching it very closely to see how far you can push. So that's obviously we're seeing around Taiwan. I don't see Putin going away in the near future, and I do think this is going to go on for quite some time, which is going to continue the very high energy prices and supply chain issues around the world.
Okay. A little bit of doom and gloom, I'm sorry, to start with. It does get better after this. And let's get better now. So any tips for businesses on how to navigate what you've just outlined, the equivalent of simply carrying an umbrella all the time?
Is this 45 seconds or have we got a little bit longer?
We better do 45 seconds.
45 seconds.
How about a minute on this one?
We'll see how we go. Businesses, well, actually, given what we're seeing in Thailand with the great resignation almost on steroids, particularly in the professional services, if anyone from professional services who wants to work in professional services, please come and see. I think people need to really look at their workforce, look at the future of work, look at embracing technology, which is something that everyone is going to really need to know. I think cybersecurity is also a major issue for people here. What else? Looking at given the challenges in the supply chain, given challenges around people, certainly look at how you engage with your people. You need to have a really good employee value proposition. You need to embrace future work, like embrace hybrid working. But still with those challenges, I think outsourcing is going to become more and more prevalent, where people actually in companies should do what they're good at and actually outsource the bits that they're not, whether it be in their supply chain, whether it be in their finance and accounting, whether it be in their marketing and their tech. And in fact, I think more and more businesses should look towards the sort of a futuristic model of having a board of directors, a CEO, a CFO, own your IP, and outsource the rest to someone who can do it probably better than you. So your CFO can really focus on strategy rather than focus on processes. You've got a marketing company that's good at that, supply chain. So really look at adapting. And the other big thing I think businesses really need to look at is sustainability, ESG. It's becoming a huge issue. Circular economy, all these things. I think businesses need to be aware. Consumers, employees, everyone is really concerned about this, and they're going to actually vote with their feet and go to the companies and the employers and the suppliers that really embrace these sorts of things. We're seeing it in politics, we're seeing it in companies with ESG and sustainability being green.
Sustainability not just a buzzword, it's here to stay.
No, I think it is, and I think sustainability has to be embedded into your business strategy. I think you need to look at, as a business, you need to look at being sustainability and how you build it in as part of your business rather than just an expense line. It's gone well beyond just being CSR. I'll take my people away for a weekend and we can go and plant mangroves or sweep beaches. It needs to be embedded.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are never going to get a better snapshot of problems and solutions in 5 minutes than that. Can we, big round of applause for Ian Pascoe, Managing Partner at Grant Thornton. Thanks, Paz.
Thank you, Blade, Bruce, Brendan.
Good to see you. And coming up next in Connections, we welcome Billy the Wine Guy. Stay with us. Next on Connections, we welcome a very long-term partner to AustCham, although unfortunately, he won't be with us much longer. Billy will be leaving our shores very soon, and this is almost his grand finale. So welcome Billy Brigham from Pernod Ricard. So Billy, how long in Thailand now?
I'm a short stay. I'm only 3 years, so not as long as some people in this room, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a little about your job and what you've been doing in the past 3 years.
You hinted on it before. I'm the wine guy, so I'm feeling a little bit empty-handed right now with not having a glass in hand. So my job really centres around promoting Australian wine and also a lot of the other wine brands that my company owns. So I work for Pernod Ricard, which is the co-leader for wine and spirits in the world. So We actually have the most substantial premium portfolio when it comes to wine and spirits.
And what are your brands? Tell us a few of your brands.
And our brands, so I'll start with the Australian. We got Jacob's Creek, George Wyndham, St. Hugo. There are wines. Then we got Beefeater, Shivers, Jameson, Monkey 47, Plymouth. I can keep.
Okay, Billy. No, well, that's enough. We could be here all night just on your brands. Let's focus on the wines. I know you've got the spirits, but I've often thought of you as the wine guy. And of course, Australia is, I'm just going to say Australia is a world leader when it comes to wine. So tell us about your Australian wines.
So in Thailand, we have a few Australian wines. Jacob's Creek being our number one. It was actually Australia's number one wine, Jacob's Creek. So for those who, I'm sure many of our members in here have enjoyed a Jacob's Creek at some point. And it's obviously the one that we provide a lot of AustCham events with as well. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So for Jacob's Creek, I mean, I'll start with a bit of an overview of the Thailand scene and wine. So for Thailand in particular, it's a growing economy for wine. It's had its bit of a struggle for the last few years, but we're seeing a rebound. So the total wine market year to date is up 24%, which is really, really positive. And on average, around sort of a year sort of volume, we're selling around 1.5 9-litre cases. So 9-litre cases is like 12 bottles. So that's around 18 million bottles a year that Thailand is consuming for wine. So really substantial.
Well done. Give yourselves all a pat on the back.
A lot of them are probably in this room right now. And yeah, so there's a big wine market at the moment in Thailand, and it's only growing. And what's really positive as well is Australia is actually the leading wine country of origin. So we're around 35% of total wine consumed in Thailand. So really substantial for Australian wine.
I'll give myself a pat on the back on behalf of Australia for that one. Thanks, Billy. So yeah, as Billy mentioned, they do supply our events, and quite a lot of them. Over the past year or so, we've also done a lot of wine tasting events, specific things. So this has been a big part of your job, right?
Correct, yeah. So my role as like a wine ambassador is to promote and obviously advocate for our wines for my company, but also Australian wines in general. So one of the big things that we see in particular in Thailand is 18 million bottles. That sounds like a lot. It's quite substantial, but the level of knowledge is fairly low. So the whole point of what I do is to try and educate a lot of retail consumers, or retail employees, shoppers, everyday consumers, your staff that are in bars and restaurants. So the people that are serving your wine, again, their knowledge is fairly low. So it's about educating them. So a lot of my stuff has been around tastings. It's the best way to learn, right? To drink.
I told you he has a good job, right?
Yeah. It's the only way to learn. So I do a lot of tastings for staff and employees to try and learn. Another part of the role in the business is to try and let everyday consumers and businesses try our wines. So I've done a lot of stuff with AustCham on tasting wines with businesses and individuals in their private homes. So I know if people are interested, feel free to reach out.
He's got a week to go. You better reach quickly. Moving on to a more serious topic, Billy, one thing we work on quite a lot in the Chamber is advocacy, of course, and an issue in your industry is the excise tax on alcohol in general, looking specifically at wine and how it affects not only the average consumer. I mean, it's adding, an extra 100 baht, which is, it's more than 100. Okay. But more importantly for the Chamber, it's the way it affects the tourism business and the amount of MICE business that Thailand loses to places like Vietnam and the Philippines. Tell us about this problem and how we fix it. Maybe just a problem. I know you know not how to fix it.
We could be here all night. Maybe, I'm not sure how familiar everyone was with the tax system, but I'll break it down into the way the wine tax sort of works is in 4 parts. So the first part is your duties. Now, Australia's quite lucky because of our free trade agreement. We don't pay any duty, so it's 0%. So that's a positive. If we weren't with a free trade agreement, it'd be around 54%. So quite high, straight off the bat. then you got your second part. So our second part, I like to call it, is our RSP tax. So it's a bit weird that you have to have an RSP price before you're even listed in a supermarket or a shop. And what happens here is if your bottle of wine is above 1,000 baht, you will get taxed around 10%. So that's why you see a lot of mid-range wines around 600, 700 baht, because there's no tax if you're below 1,000 baht. So that's your first, your duties. Your second is your RSP tax. Now your third tax, now this is the killer, is your ABV tax, I like to call it. So, for example, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people here enjoy red wine. It's the most popular one in Thailand.
They're enjoying it now,
I can see a few glasses around, a few empty glasses as well. But your ABV tax is taxed on the ABV percentage. So 1,500 baht is their base, and whatever that is, they will times by the percentage of ABV. So it's 1,500 baht times by ABV percentage. So for example, if you have a 15% wine, you're timesing that by 1,500 baht, and that's around 225 baht.
225 baht.
Just
on
tax.
the wine.
Just tax on your wine.
Okay. And is that the total, or there's another one?
No, there's more. There's more. We got more. Sorry. So that's your first. That's your ABV tax. You have your RSP tax, your ABV tax, and then lastly you have this earmark tax, which is sort of the knife in the wound even deeper, where what it is it's for education, for sports, for recreation, for roads, for transport. It's another tax they add on. And what this is your RSP tax plus your ABV tax, and then times by 17.5%. So that's like another, say, 40 baht. So total, 265 baht on tax.
Okay. Wow. So that's a little gloomy for the average wine consumer who is in here, of course. But the bigger picture is if you have a group of, say, 10,000 people coming out of Australia on a MICE visit, that has a serious impact on their decision. Do they go to Thailand or Vietnam, for example?
Yeah, it's a huge effect. So you can look around the room. We're lucky enough that we can enjoy some wine tonight. But for example, if you had a big company conference, or even for tourists, your everyday tourist coming from a lot of countries, our tourists are coming in. They're here for a holiday. They're here to celebrate, relax. And the way that we relax is with a glass of wine. And when you go into a supermarket or a store and you're seeing the wine that you buy in your local supermarket 3 times the price here in Thailand, you're likely to think twice about buying it. And with expos and conferences and things like that, you've got a lot of neighboring countries like Vietnam, Philippines, where the prices are a lot lower for wine because there isn't this harsh tax. So they're likely to go there for expos and conferences in the future. So it is a big impact. But we're lucky, I will say we are lucky that there is businesses and organizations working in the background. So TABA, which is the Thailand Alcohol Business, tongue-tied, TABA, Thailand Alcohol Business, Beverage Business Association is working in the background. Yeah. So there are a lot of big companies like Pernod Ricard, Diageo, Heineken, Thai Bev, and Sing that are all working to try and help mitigate some of these regulations. So there is a positive note.
And AustCham, and I know our partners, our friends at the British, I know are here as well, will continue to support those advocacy efforts to get those great Australian wines here at the prices we want to see. It needs to be done by discretion. I mean, you don't want to be going on TV blurting that out or anything. Wrapping up, Billy, you're leaving our shores very soon. What's next for Billy Brigham?
That's why I could say what I could say tonight. Sadly, this will probably be my last AustCham event. What a way to go. But I've got a new role in the UK, in London. So I'll be showing some of the POMs how to drink and show them some of our good wines. But my new role will be working not so much with wines, but with gin. So if we've got some gin fans in here, please let me know. But sadly, come 1st July, I will be leaving Thailand. So it's a sad way to be leaving after 3 years, but on a positive note for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone's best friend, wine ambassador, soon to be gin ambassador, Billy Brigham. Thanks, Billy. Welcome back. In our business section today, we welcome your hosts, the good people here at Lexicon Business Communications. I'd like to welcome the Brains Trust of Lexicon, David Norcross, Max Schmitt, and Justin St-Denis. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks, mate.
And you're here to tell us a story, I believe.
Yeah, but it's not about wine, unfortunately.
You're wishing you'd gone first. Keep the wine guy to last. So let's start with you, David. These are magnificent facilities. They really are. I'm sure you'll all agree here. It's a great space. There's the applause.
Thank you.
It is. Having met you very early on in your Lexicon career and seeing the growth, it's a great story as well. But that story takes a lot longer than the time we have. So let's jump straight to here. How did this place come about?
So yeah, I've got 1 minute for this. So I'll be quick. Right at the start of COVID, so 2020 January, we launched this space for exactly this reason. We want to be the hub of the business community, to bring people together, to socialize, to have fun. And that kind of got derailed a little bit by the global pandemic. A little bit, yeah. Nonetheless, we also launched a studio over there in the corner, which has helped us to bring people together through webinars, through podcasts, through all sorts of fun, creative stuff. So I'm so happy to see everyone here tonight to actually see this space as it's meant to be.
And it is a wonderful space. Let's do that round of applause thing again. Now, Justin, you're an interesting one. The first time I saw you was at a sportsman's comedy night.
Yeah, that's right.
How did you end up here?
Well, I've been doing stand-up comedy for about 5 years. My background's in journalism. I'm not quitting my day job anytime soon. But me being a stand-up comedian was actually an asset in David's eyes. It's part of the reason why he hired me. He was like, "Hey, a funny guy. We could use that for our clients." And many of you know that. I'm doing a whole stand-up comedy set in 5 minutes. I will. I'm going to tell you many jokes in 5 minutes. Yes, let's escort this gentleman out. I'm probably going to get this guy in trouble someday, but until then, let the good times roll.
Very nice. Yeah, applause. Yeah.
David, you're not supposed to hype us.
Now, Max, I follow you guys all through your social media, particularly this space. You're playing around a lot, which looks like a lot of fun. But Max, from what I understand, you're one of the people here who actually has a serious job.
I guess.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'm the CTO, so my job is basically to find solutions and sprinkle a little bit of technology on top of it. And for our clients, it's mean building websites, finding a good way to build a website that is fast and secure, and that which you can control the content and update whenever you need. And also web apps, which is kind of a weird term, but it's basically digital transformation, taking something out of Excel and making it into an app, into something more efficient.
Okay. You all probably noticed that blank look go over my face when he got to the last part.
And I have that look on my face every time he talks. I feel like he's just in the Matrix.
Good. In the Matrix. So sticking with Max, now Lexicon actually built the AustCham website, and I believe for a few other companies here, including the Australian alumni. Good luck in the front. So can you tell us a bit about that? And we will let you know, this is one of the rare occasions a speaker asks you to look at your phone. www.austchamthailand.com. Over to Max.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it was really a great project to work on, and it's really great to see it so active. It's been more than 2 years already, right? And I mean, building a website is much more than a design. It's not only about designing and building, it's also about organizing the content. And I remember there was quite some work into, when you have a website, you have more and more content, it can get a little bit disorganized. Putting all that back together into a new, fresh look was really a delight.
And it came out fantastic as well. Once again, www.austchamthailand.com. Thank you, Max. Now, Justin, we've touched on it a little already, but a lot of people have a day job and then something they do in their spare time. You have a night job, and then this is what you do in your spare time, right?
No comment. I wish. I spend significantly more time here, and I love it here.
Excellent. And finally, back to David. You'll see that David's obviously... David's here at AustCham. He does a lot of work for us, a lot of great work for us. He also sits on the board of the British Chamber of Commerce in Thailand. He's with AmCham, various other chambers. He's the definition of what an active chamber member should be. So my question for you, David, is why are you so promiscuous?
Well, I'm an active member, and I'm easy. So what can I say? Well, I have to thank you, Brendan. In the early days of Lexicon, you really helped us a lot to be introduced to the business community, to build connections and community. So thank you for that. As we've grown, we have aligned ourselves with other chambers too, but it's all part of the same experience. Chambers of Commerce, they help their members to succeed. So it's great for us to be part of that, and we'll be a part of the AustCham forever. So thank you, Brendan.
Thank you. That's another applause one. So a final big round of applause to David, Justin and Max. They do a great job. I mean, you can see what the kind of show they put on here. You are in a position where you can contact them and rent the space as well, I believe. Lexicon Thailand, helping your business to tell its story, because you all have a good story to tell. Thanks, guys. Thanks, mate. Thanks, Justin. And Justin, can we keep you here? I need a couple of minute break. I hear you're a comedian. Yeah. Who wants to hear? Oh, I know someone wants to hear Justin tell a joke. There you go. Welcome, Justin St-Denis.
All right, give it up for your host, Brendan Cunningham, everybody. Give it up. Yeah. And while you're at it, give it up for my hair, because it's giving up on me. Lovely to see you all here. This is the best dressed and most sober Australian crowd I've ever performed for. We'll fix the sober part later. So listen, I was on the BTS today, or a year and a half ago, if you've heard me do this joke before. And there was a woman breastfeeding a baby. I was a little shocked, frankly. I did the only reasonable thing. I went up to that baby and I said, hey, eating and drinking is not permitted on the BTS SkyTrain system. Thank you. And put your mask on, baby. Lovely to see Thai people here. Thai people are very disciplined about wearing their masks. You know? If only they showed that same level of diligence and dedication to, wearing helmets when they drive their motorcycles, not driving their motorcycles on the sidewalk, waiting for people to get out of the lift before getting in the lift, not blocking the escalator, walking with a sense of purpose, and being on time for things. Thailand would be a utopia. The Thai guy's laughing. It's okay. It's okay. Fake laughter. Thanks a lot, TJ. You got a bigger laugh than any of the ones I've gotten so far. Yeah, no, I kid the Thai people. I love Thai people. Love of my life. My fiance is Thai. We're going to get married. We're going to have kids soon, which is exciting. Thank you. These are hypothetical kids for the purpose of this joke, but fine. But if I have a son, it's great. If I have a son, he's going to play ice hockey for the Thai national team, which is a very achievable goal. Unlike my dad's dreams of me playing for Team Canada. That was never going to happen, Pops. I had to move to Bangkok to be a relevant hockey player. I am now the captain of a team sponsored by Hooters. True, it is true. So you guys are all vaccinated, and I don't care. I am vaccinated. I'm super immunized. I got the AstraZeneca, and then I got 2 Modernas. Then I got COVID. Figure that one out. And they told us at the hospital, they told my fiance and I, because she got it too, they were like, You can quarantine at home or you can quarantine at the hospital. Now, I really wanted to quarantine at home, but my fiance really wanted to quarantine at the hospital. So we compromised and went to the hospital. Here was her argument. She said, we just bought insurance and they'll take better care of us. And it says specifically in the plan that COVID is covered. And I was like, sweetie, that's not how insurance companies work. They don't get rich handing out claims willy-nilly. They're going to find a way to make us pay for all of this. And if any insurance people are in here, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your competitors. But then she said, hey, look, it's a 5-star hotel. And I was like, all right, I'm feeling lucky. Let's gamble. They drove us there in an ambulance with the sirens on, which I thought was a little excessive for my mild cold and headache. And we got there, and it was not a 5-star hotel. There's plastic all over the place. There was only one pillow. I called the front desk. I said, hey, can I get another pillow? She said, cannot. I said, why? She said, COVID, and then hung up on me. 6,700 baht a night for this service? Finally, after 7 days, they let us leave. And here's the crazy part. My insurance covered everything straight up, no problem. But my fiance had mentioned to one of the nurses that she had asthma as a child. And so they used that as a pre-existing condition to deny her claim. And so she had to pay 78,000 baht out of pocket. She appealed it and she got her money back. So all's well that ends well. But at the moment, it was devastating for her. And I bit my tongue so hard not to say I told you so. And I'm glad I didn't, because it was really devastating for her. She was crying. And she came to a bit of an epiphany. She was like, baby, you were right. You were right all along. And you're always right about this kind of thing. So next time something like this happens, I'm going to listen to you. And I said, sweetheart, I'll help you pay for this bill. I don't care how much it costs, because hearing you say that I was right, priceless. All right, thank you very much. Welcome back, your host, Brendan Cunningham. This set was brought to you by Connexus Global.
Thank you, Justin. I don't know about you, but of everything he said, the part I believed the least was the last part. There's no way in the world that really happened. Coming up on our connection section, the last segment of our show, we're now going to look at AustCham's Inclusion and Diversity Committee. And for this, I'd like to welcome one of our board members, Kwan, Juthamas Kwan, also known as the Director of Business Development at Bangkok. Kwan, welcome. Great. Please take a seat. And joining her, can you pick the person who's playing Australian football in this room? She's hiding. Kay Holt, coach of the women's team at the Thailand Tigers Australian Football Club. Welcome. So, a lot of people would remember AustCham Thailand's Women in Leadership Committee. We did this wonderful program, among others, Walk the Talk with the Australian Embassy through the Australian Embassy. We won't revisit that, but what we will do is look at how it's morphed into the Inclusion and Diversity Committee. So, Kwan, can you tell us about that? What happened? What was the change?
So basically, if you notice on what had happened for the last 2 years with the pandemic, right? We're trying to do a lot of things that motivated people. And what I see is whenever we're doing activities, and then we're trying to do just women's alone event, it's, we don't really get participations, to be honest, because it's very hard to get people across their fear on what to do. And it come to my own conclusions that it's easier to try to include everyone into the event. And also, whenever we organize the event, often we don't really see just one gender. You see everyone anyway. And so personally, for me to really drive the diversity, I felt diversity alone, and you don't really hear any of the organizations say, I'm doing diversity. You hear diversity and inclusion come together, because without inclusion, diversity mean nothing. Diversity, it's not like, you see in a lot of people notice my fingernail. I do it for a reason, and I don't do a rainbow color. I do a lot of colors because colors means individual, whether you look at the flag, and this month you see a lot of pride celebrations. In 16 years of Thailand history, we never have this big pride celebration like this year. Currently, Tourism Authority of Thailand is taking Thai flag to Toronto to join Pride over there. Because we are one of the country which people from all over the world come here and feel being at themselves.
I see a lot of our members, Kwan, are joining that as well, updating their company logos through social media with the colours too. I'll quickly just highlight as well, for anyone who can see.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of sets for next Wednesday as well, but before we go into that, women in leadership is, of course, still a big part of the Inclusion and Diversity Committee, and the reason why Kate's here with us, as a Thailand Tiger, we were trying to set up a women's team for many years, and it turns out that we really just needed you to show up, Kate, and get that going. So can you tell us your story, how you got involved?
Yes. Hello, everybody. So I came to Thailand about 3 years ago now. I'm a teacher out here. And one of my work colleagues, who is one of the lifetime members of the Tigers, was like, do you want to come and play football? So I was like, why not? Let's give it a go. It's always good to try new things. So went to training. I've never played Australian rules before, and obviously you can tell I'm a very Northern English person. So I went there and got to the club, and everyone was just so welcoming and lovely. And I did one training session, and we went to the pub afterwards. And J-Mac, our coach, who is a fabulous guy and very passionate about the job, really good guy. And he was like, we're going to Bali next week, in a few weeks. Do you want to come on tour? I went, I've never played before. I went, it's all right. So I booked my tickets there and then in the pub and went on tour with them to Bali, which was amazing. And then just kept going back to practice, got involved. And about 2 years ago, we have our AGM every year, and I got voted to be the women's coach. And moving to where we are now, the team has grown from 3 to 4 people to 14, 16 people coming to games. I just took a group of girls to Cambodia for an international game, and we've got a ladies game this weekend, which we're going to do co-ed with the men as well. So that's a little bit about my story.
So if anybody is interested in becoming the coach of an Aussie rules team, of the Thailand Tigers, but to become a coach of an Aussie rules team, show up at training, go to the pub, go on a tour.
Go to the pub is the most serious bit, yeah.
Got it. So both of you will be sitting on a panel for our Power of Inclusion event, which is at Armari Watergate next Wednesday. Let's not give away too much because we want everyone to come on the night.
Keep it in suspense.
Absolutely. But can you give us a snapshot of what that event's about?
Actually, I won't be on the panel, but there will be more of interesting character, if I may say. I craft who's going to be on that panel, and also this is more on looking into giving everyone's opportunity to talk on their experience. So it's not always, maybe number one of the company, because I felt if we get to hear the real story, how they grow and they're being embraced in their own company and how the company treated them. So on the panel we have, apart from Kay, we would be having Nambo, and a bunch of you might know her because I chose her because of her skin. And I felt like people who have different skin colors, sometimes they're being treated different way. And apart from that, I have also my hotel manager from Bangkok. He's very young, talented, and he's gay, and he's very proud on what we do at the hotel, because I'm coming from a hotel who we practice diversity and inclusion, and this is the reason why I'm so inspired to try to spread the love to everyone. You know, like if you all practice the same, and I think in a lot of company, you might say, I believe in diversity and inclusion, but reality, it is not. And what we're going to be talking is not just only on gender aspect. We will be talking on how about culture aspect. How about the age? As you know, in the last 2 years, a lot of young people, there's been in the radar, digital marketing people, you see the vacancy everywhere.
Kwan, I'm glad you said that, because you've also got a student speaking, right? A student from the University of Newcastle.
Yes, we're going to do a little bit of inspiring talking sessions where we get support from the Nature High higher group. We select a Burmese student who's being, treated wrong. And this is why I think if we all come together in that event, it means we support them. And if just, look around in this room, imagine if we only have one gender, how would you feel in this room? If we only have male or female, or just me being blamed as, I'm Caucasian, like Asian. And this is the things when this topic is so important, because you might treat people wrongly without knowing. I have 2 kids.
So Kwan, I think we better
keep it a little bit for
let's get everyone
next
to come
year.
next week.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday, the
Right.
29th of June at the Armurray Watergate.
Armurray
All
Watergate.
start at 6
Yeah.
o'clock. And we're sending those communications out. Make sure you
Right.
join us.
Yeah.
One final thing, and this is one sentence. We have a very special guest coming. Who's that? It's not me. I know you're going to say me. I will be there, but that's not who I'm talking about.
We have a special guest, and this is such an honor for us to be welcoming our new Australian ambassador designate, who's going to be at her first person with AustCham community. So she's going to be giving a welcome speech. So when I say she, yes, our new ambassador designate is a lady.
So you get to meet her, if you come along, of course, next Wednesday at the event. Kwan, thank you very much. Before we leave, can we do a very quick skills demonstration? We told you Kay was a coach. And that's it for today's episode, AustCham TV Business Connections Community. Thank you so much for joining us for our very first live episode, coming to you today from Lexicon Studios. A final round of applause both for our speakers and the wonderful people at Lexicon.
Give it up for your host. Come on, one time. Way!
Bar's open.
Let's go.